Good morning, everybody. This is Global Innovation Strategies, Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the Success Strategist. We're just going to start our live stream. So give that just a moment to start up, please, and then we will kick off and get started. So again, this is Dr. Rhonda Farrell joining you from Global Innovation Strategies, the Success Strategists. Today, we are talking about Spotlight on Strategy and continuing our conversations from earlier in the year, our first 15 episodes that really went through each leg of a strategic triad: clarity, alignment, and performance. What are the different tools and strategic actions you can take to mature strategy, incubate strategy, collectively harness strategy in support of exponentially growing and you're performing your business at a higher level. So today, this is our last episode of our Spotlight on Strategy aggregation sessions for the summer. In September, we're going to kick off with episode 16 of our Spotlight on Strategy program. And again, we'll do deeper dives into methodologies, frameworks, tools, and ways you can operationalize strategy within your organization with the intent to A, drive leadership development, B, drive staff and workforce integration, and C, of course, help you steer the ship to greater levels of performance and success in the short, mid, and long term. So again, our wrap-up session for Spotlight on Strategy today, we're going to talk about the major elements that we need to be thinking about as executives, as CEOs, as entrepreneurs, and you as a leader, a SME, a workforce person, as you're building your brand within the organization and external to the organization so that you can add more value every day. So the first thing we want to be cognizant of is this concept of continuous scanning. Why is this important? Because when we're sailing a ship, we need to understand the direction the wind is blowing. And we get those signals in three different ways. One, it's rolling down from the board of directors, the board of advisors, the executive team in the form of strategic goals and priorities for a certain time period. But that strata of decision makers, of executives, of captains of the organizational ship, so to speak, also are consistently scanning what's on the horizon, right? So we may have a map, but maybe some new issue arose in the channel we want to take. So we need to understand what is our alternate routes. Maybe a supply chain issue arose. So we need to think about our products and our services in a different light. Do we need to get new suppliers? Do we need to get integrators in different parts of the world? Do we need to rethink our portfolio? Do we need to examine how to offset risk from a certain monetary, financial perspective, et cetera, right? And that continuous scanning is really allowing us to look at what's happening externally within the broader global ecosystem, what's happening within our industries, and most of all, what's happening in parallel industries. So, because again, yes, ideation and innovation come from within, but it also comes from without. And we want to make sure that we're capturing the progress and the innovations and the novel and value-laden things that are occurring and being recognized elsewhere so that we can lift and shift. We don't have to rediscover. We don't have to recreate a model. We don't have to remake a framework. We can just look at the basic elements that has occurred in some other field, some other industry, some other place in the world, and understand, how can I think about that a little bit differently? So if it has value and merit for our organization, how can we bring that to life with minimal disruption and maximum value add for our organization performance and long-term sustainability? So continuous scanning helps us understand not only the opportunities, but the threats and the advances that are occurring, so that we will know if we are going to be cued to do a strategic refresh, given the, I would say, the level of disruption or revolutionary necessity that innovation or new idea is going to bring. So again, continuous scanning, what's occurring, what's happening, how is it going to affect us, and do we need to create a slight pivot, or do we need to create a whole new major route for our organizational success? Forecasting, similar. What we're doing is we're ingesting all that intelligence. We're ingesting strategic priorities. We're ingesting the intelligence that's creating out in the ecosystem. And then we're going to harness that to help us understand and gain greater clarity on if we need to make a pivot, if we need to make a major move, if we need to do something different. How is that then going to affect our strategy, our goals, our objectives, and our performance markers, performance management markers that we put in place? So forecasting helps us really internalize all that we're learning, and that continuous scanning. It helps us understand our baseline strategy, and it helps us better, if we gain greater clarity from some of our scanning activities. Forecasting is a way to help us harden and mature the alignment given that new knowledge. The next is ideation and innovation. And when we're doing this constantly with the advent of AI, we're able to not only create data and information, but really intelligence out of that. So our long journey of heuristics engine, machine learning, artificial intelligence, as it's been institutionalized over many decades now, how can we harness that not only for business intelligence, so along the lines of our portfolio modeling, but how can we optimize the products and the services that are on the horizon or are currently being offered to our customer and client base, as well as focusing that internally. So how do we better harness the resources? How do we better create optimized internal working structures? How do we, again, better harness our monetary resources to get something to market or sustain something that's in the market, or pilot something internally so we can reach a stronger, better level of line in the sand where we're either gonna give it a green light, or we're going to give it a yellow light, or we're going to give it a red light. So it's going to strengthen our capabilities to forecast. It's going to strengthen the intelligence that we're being provided during that scanning phase. It's going to strengthen our decision-making capabilities, as long as we ask the right questions, as long as we put in the right business rules, as well as much as we are willing to focus on the intelligence that's being derived, and then actually being able to use it and harness it for its intended purpose, which is to drive higher levels of performance, higher levels of success, etc. So again, that is not a It is not a simple task. It is a people, a process, a technology component. It's about how we integrate that across our organizations. It's how we get people from external organizations and partnerships and nonprofits and leading technology firms involved. It's about helping to make the process, the growth process, transparent, so you are showing and leading the way forward, etc. So there's a strategy underneath the strategy for ideation and innovation and the harnessing of artificial intelligence, etc., with regard to what your organization is, how it's using it, how it's harnessing it, and the caliber and the confidence level of the decisions you're able and capable of deriving at because of the use of those. So it's not something that you want to do on an ad hoc, although ad hoc will help you get pockets of information and intelligence to help you inform your forecasting, to help you inform your scanning strategy or your scanning integration and implementation strategy, etc. But also, what does it do? It can help us get better at the process of ideation and innovation. So using our innovation related capabilities from a people, process, and technological standpoint, we then can build the life cycle of ideation and innovation to be more inclusive, to allow more diverse perspectives, to glue and create this amalgamation across that set, even if that's outside of our original comfort zone, because it gets us farther, and we've broken outside of the box as to it has to look a certain way, it has to come from a certain strata, it has to be packaged in this way. If we can think about how we ideate, how we innovate, and to harness the tools, it can help alleviate some of our organizational bias that occurs in a natural ideation and innovation set, unless you have strong leadership and strong facilitation and strong strengthening mechanisms and facilitation during that life cycle. So it helps us in many ways, because it helps us break outside of our box as here's our current state. It helps us break outside of our thinking and our biases box as I'm comfortable receiving information in this manner or from that strata or in this way or approached in that manner. It helps us really break down those blockages to helping our organizations achieve higher performance and higher success, because we don't have to fall back on we've always done it this way. We now have new technologies and new process and new ways that we can help break down the silos and other mechanisms, control mechanisms, if you will, that disable something from bubbling up and through that will ultimately help gain greater performance and success. So some fodder for our leaders and executives that are listening and on the line of some phenomenal technologies and approaches to help our organization succeed at a higher level. Going back, of course, to excellence frameworks and going back to other quality, TQM, etc., harnessing the whole in support of the customer excellence journey that the organization is all. The next one is strategic alignment. So looking at harnessing what we're learning from our scanning, hardening and maturing our forecasting, enabling our ideation and innovation capabilities to help us think outside the box with regard to what's in the art of possible, portfolio, service, delivery, internal changes, etc. We're going to then need to rewrite the mesh of strategic and mission alignment, where strategy meets operations for how we implement and sustain and grow the products and services internally as well as externally. So what's harnessing some of these new technologies? What is our IP? What can our IP now look like? What is viable from a monetization standpoint? How do we want to meld and package traditional products and services with new digital products and services? What does that look like from a place of serving our clients at a higher level, serving new populations, serving and creating new opportunities globally? So we want to really harness all that we're learning and all that we're doing and all that we have done from the baseline to create, again, that new strategic and mission alignment mesh. And that's an art and a science, some quantitative, given that the new focus on the ingestion of data from across your organization and external, being able to analyze and being able to pinpoint. And that's really where data meets AI, ML, more quantitative analysis type operations, to where we're able to harness the information and intelligence at its highest level, to say, what are we solving for? Are we solving for optimized revenue streams? Are we solving for greatest resiliency? Are we solving for the greatest amount of growth in certain geographic regions? Are we solving for higher levels of governance and maturation across our organizations? Are we solving for integration across the diverse spectrum, right? So we get to choose what we're solving for and harness the technology and the processes to help us get there. If, again, they're in alignment with our strategic portfolio and our mission portfolio. And when we have a gap, that's our opportunity to grow the organization to the next stage, to be able to harness these technologies, to harness the intelligence, to harness the expertise that our people are bringing to the plate, if you will, the table, in order to help move the organization forward. So we have two additional aspects we want to look at. This is, again, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, it's a journey. And if we look at it through the lens of excellence, we're never done, because excellence is, we learn something, we pivot. We learn something more, we pivot again. We learn the third order, we pivot again. And so we're never done. And so for some strata of the organization, that will lead to potential change fatigue. That may lead to organizational fatigue, because they feel like they're in a constant level, a constant run of sprints, and they never get to catch their breath before the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. So that it really depends on your organization, the size and the culture. How far do you want to go? How fast do you want to move to get there? How do you want to harness your organizational resources and external and tools and processes to help you get there? And then how do you communicate the journey that you're on? How do you recognize successes along the way? How do you keep up the momentum through the North Star of perhaps using excellence, right? Because it's a continuously moving target. And to some, that's extremely alluring and exciting. And to others, that's fatiguing and frustrating. And so we have to understand where we have to plant our flags, our mile markers. How can we unify and solidify to be able to reach the marker or the flag? And then what comes after, and who takes that next leg of the journey? It doesn't have to be all in all the time. It can be a phased approach where we're strategically harnessing and using our resources, so that strata A, moving from mile marker 1 to 2, strata B from 2 to 3, strata 4 from 3 to 4, etc. Or we can have a mix. We can have a mix of resourcing and leadership along each phase and stage of the journey, depending on where they fall on that continuum. Exciting, frustrating, enabling, fatigued, right? So you have to gauge and understand and place your resources accordingly on the continuum, and most of all, ask, right? If we move to a place of know thyself and know thy peer and know thy leaders and organizational resources, then we can much better reach our performance, because we will be in a stronger alignment, and we will have gained clarity on what's most important to each of the strata within our organizations and our partners and our customers externally. So last but not least is, as we're moving along our journey to excellence, we need to be cognizant of this balance of risk and resiliency. How much risk do we wish to take with regard to the innovations that we are putting forth out into the marketplace from a product or service or digital or other offering? What is our resiliency? So from the cyber perspective, we could look at that from defense in depth. What safety nets do we have to put in place to support our organization if we're going for a 10x, 50x, 100x? What risk offsets do we have to put in place if we take some cues from the financial markets and balance our risk approach if we're over and under, so that we come out exponentially ahead of the game? We use the same type of risk analysis to understand what one move can we make that heightens our performance, how heightens our outcomes, and while at the same time offsetting our risk. So from a balanced portfolio perspective, we're still moving ahead to reach the 10x, 50x, 100x success factors that we've been going after. Again, this is the last session of Spotlight on Strategy for our summer session, helping you ignite greater success and performance in your organization, or for our solopreneurs, your life and your business. So again, we welcome you to harness and use all of these tools: continuous scanning, forecasting, ideation and innovation, strategic alignment, excellence, and risk and resiliency, to help you gain a strategic advantage so that you can move ahead further and faster. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, Global Innovation Strategies, the Success Strategy, signing off on our final summer program of Spotlight on Strategy. We will rejoin you again in September with episode 16 of our normal programming. We wish you high amounts of performance and, of course, ultimately the 10x, 50x, 100x levels of success that you are looking to achieve within your organization.